whenever, and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. Happy Cinco, Jake.
Cinco!
Yeah, that's the new hip term, is Happy Cinco, bro. You don't have to say like fully Cinco de Mayo. You can just say Happy Cinco, bro. Anyway, it is Wednesday, May 5th, 2021.
It's Revenge of the 5th, you know? Remember how yesterday was May the 4th be with you? Today's Revenge of the 5th. What do you feel about that?
You should get a life.
My bad. Okay.
We are just 5 subscribers away from giving away this Xbox Series S right here. All you have to do, hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. Take a picture of that you are subscribed. Tag The Monty Show and SLC Supercars on Twitter or the Instagram machine, and you're entered to win. I would think, since we did, 9 subscribers yesterday?
Yeah, and we've done 558 million in the last month.
It's been a pretty good month for subscribers on this here program. I would think that we would be able to give this away today.
Tomorrow.
We would get to 500, so we would give it away tomorrow, excuse me.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're going to start the show tomorrow telling you, hey, we're at 500, and then we'll end the show giving away the Xbox. That's what I would hope. Uh-oh. Sakshay Shattervedi. He changed his name from Sakshay J. Who the fuck are you? Man, why wouldn't you change Sakshay? So it's easier for me to say. Sakshay Shartarudy. Good morning.
What are you talking about,
says,
man?
Morning, Monty and Jake. Good morning, Sharding Rudy. Is that a Rudy Gobert reference? Good morning to all of you. So yes, go ahead and hit subscribe. Give us a thumbs up as well on the show. Why don't we start the show talking about those there Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers are in a really difficult spot, and maybe, just maybe, they're better off. On the news that LeBron James has a significant setback with his high ankle sprain. He is out at least 5 more days, and there are many, including Wojbomb, who say that he may be out for the rest of the regular season. This is a big setback, but what we saw the other night was a LeBron James who was very clearly not ready to play. Came back too early. Wojbomb reported that LeBron was feeling the pressure of Laker losses mounting and came back too soon, felt sharp pain in that lower leg, and now they're calling it a setback. Jake, he's out at least several more days. How much of a big deal, how big of a deal is this for the LA Lakers?
I mean, yeah, it's always a big deal when LeBron's out. I mean, for any team, whether it was, in the past or current day. I think the issue for this team is that Anthony Davis has been out for so long that now that, the chemistry, they're still building that. And yes, I do think they have the advantage of playing together last year in the bubble and winning the championship and everything, so it's not going to be as difficult for them. But at the same time, you're in a position here where you're, meddling and playing around with the play-in tournament, instead of being a 4 or a 5 seed. You're talking about being a 6, 7, 8 seed, and that's dangerous territory to be in. I think a lot of people before this happened, before this news came out, yesterday and today, a lot of people felt like, well, LeBron's going to come back. They're gonna play, 10 games together, and they'll be good to go. Everything will be fine. And I think that was not wishful thinking, but I think that was very optimistic. I think that people don't understand how difficult it is to come back from a high ankle sprain, especially at, what is he, 36 or whatever he is now?
84.
So, he's not young anymore. And so I think that these kind of injuries, they can be difficult to come back from. Let's be honest. The guy is not Jesus Christ. I mean, the guy is not, bulletproof. He's not any different than any other human being, man. I mean, it's going to be difficult for sure. And I think that LeBron, has earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to injuries.
Absolutely.
He's been incredibly durable, but at the same time, this question of, hey, are they better off playing with AD and everybody else on the roster instead of trying to force LeBron back. And my opinion is yes. I don't think that a 50% LeBron James is going to do anything good for you on the floor. He's got to be as close to 100 as possible.
Well, because when LeBron's out there and he's being LeBron, he has to have the basketball. He is the straw that stirs that drink when he's playing. The reason I say the Lakers are better off without LeBron, because he's not nearly himself. And you saw all the turnovers the other night, his inability to dunk the basketball the other night. You could see he was favoring that leg, and I think it really limited his ability to impact a positive outcome for the Lakers. And this is a team, frankly, that has zero room for error. They're in the play-in tournament right now, and I don't see any way that they're going to get out of it because, again, they have a very difficult schedule. So, yes, as outlandish as it seems, this LA Laker team is better off without LeBron James because he's not ready to go. And Anthony Davis is a beast unto himself. And the way that the depth on this Laker team is developed through James and AD's absence, I think they're in a good spot if they can focus their offense around Anthony Davis, and if guys like Cantavius Caldwell-Pope can continue to...
Yeah, Cantavius.
Cantavius.
KCP.
Cantavius can continue along with the Carusos and the Kuzes and
the Morrises.
Morris has to play well. Harrell has to play well. Drummond, like they have no room for error now. But when you have a guy like Anthony Davis, it really makes a difference. And this is why you gave up the King's ransom you did to get AD onto this roster. I think now that LeBron's out of the picture for at least a week and a half, I think they're much more focused on what their offense looks like. I actually think they're in good shape here.
Yeah, I think they're in good shape too. I think that this has just been a really difficult season, not just for the Lakers, but for everybody. You know, I mean, we talk so often. I mean, on a daily basis, we talk about the Jazz dealing with their injuries, and the Suns are missing players, and now obviously the Lakers are trying to come back from their injuries. But I think that with LeBron's game, the way he physically plays the game, he's always been somebody who's played a more physical brand of basketball. Now that we've seen that fade away as he's gotten older and worked deeper into his career.
Excuse me, as his game has evolved, not as he's gotten older, Jake. As his game has evolved,
right?
LeBron has worked in a fadeaway jumper.
I want to thank me for having no days off.
Right? I mean, LeBron's worked really hard to add that to his arsenal.
The problem is that LeBron's game, whether he's got the fadeaway or not, is still predicated on him being able to go to the basket and being able to distribute.
Yes.
And that is a very physical brand of basketball to be playing. I think one of the things that is really a defining factor in a difference between Kobe and LeBron and Michael is that Michael and Kobe, their game was all skill and finesse. They never were really, later in their careers, they were not about, playing physical basketball and dunking on people. They were all about, the elbow jumpers, the mid-range and all that. And I think for LeBron, this postseason run, because I do think he's going to come back. Hell or high water, he's coming back. And if that means he's going to suffer an injury, a major injury, I think he's resigned to that fact, honestly. Like, I think he is. So
I don't know about that.
Dude, but you think it's ridiculous, but he rushed himself back. If you weren't willing to risk that, why did you rush yourself back?
And I think the explanation that Wojbomb gave on ESPN, I'll stop right now, I promise. Adrian Wojnarowski on ESPN said, LeBron never was able to test that ankle, so he didn't know its current state. All he was doing was rehabbing and doing light jogging. Because you don't practice these days in the NBA. You really don't. You have so many games that you just don't have time for practice anymore. So what you're seeing is teams shoot around, and you're seeing teams strength and conditioning. That's it. So that's all LeBron was doing. He got into the game, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, and couldn't cut, couldn't jump, couldn't explode, couldn't dunk. Wasn't confident enough to go to the basket. So you saw a lot of wild passes, a lot of wild turnovers. And finally, what you saw was LeBron James take off his shoes and throw them on the ground in frustration. And then he covered his ankles with a towel because he was getting treatment on the bench. I mean, I just don't think he ever had the chance to test that ankle. But I also think he's singularly focused on ending his career with Bronny on his team. I think he wants to play with his son, and I think he will do anything that he can do to make that happen. So I don't think he's willing to suffer a major injury. I really don't. I could be wrong. But also, by the way, I look at the 8 games they have left. Where's he out in this schedule?
Yeah,
because it's at the Clippers, which is at home in LA, at Portland on Friday. So Thursday, Friday, back-to-back Clippers and Blazers. That Blazer game, I'm telling you, they're gonna lose that Blazer game in Rip City. They're gonna wind up tied with Portland, which means they'll be in the tournament.
Yep.
Then it's home for Phoenix, home for the Knicks, home for the Rockets. There's the out right there. The Rockets game should be a win.
It's no gimme.
But the way the Rockets are playing, it is no gimme. And then your final road trip is at Indiana and at New Orleans. And if you look at the way Lonzo Ball's playing, tell me he's not on a mission to prove some people wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he is. I think that he's a player that has developed that jump shot, and yeah, is trying to prove people wrong. Exactly right. But overall, look, with the Lakers, I just think that LeBron James, there's a small part of me that says you can't have it both ways, which is, hey, I know my body, I've taken care of my body, I know what I can do, I know what I can't do, and then, everyone wants to talk about, well, he wasn't able to test his ankle, and he wasn't able to play and practice and all this stuff. So, to me, that's just, I'm not saying he's making an excuse, but what I am saying is that you're LeBron James, you're a storied athlete who has always been able to take care of his body, and now you want to roll out and say, well, I wasn't sure if I was ready or not. I had to test it. And it's like, okay, well, if you weren't sure, if you weren't 100% sure that you were ready, you should not have been out there because now it's going to cost you another week. And that's just kind of frustrating.
And you know what? Maybe this is a tip of the cap to the Utah Jazz because they're not rushing Conley and Don back. Both are out again tonight against San Antonio on the second game of that back-to-back against San Antonio. And obviously, when you are in the position that the Jazz are, where you're not playing consecutive days, and you are tied for first in the West with the Suns, and the Suns are playing back-to-back nights, where they had a game in Cleveland last night. Overtime didn't really matter. Cam Johnson dominated overtime. Mikal Bridges dominated overtime. It was never in doubt. Now they go to Atlanta tonight after playing Cleveland last night. That's a tough hill to climb for the Phoenix Suns. Now, they're the best road team in the NBA.
Yeah.
But that's still a tough road to climb. If you're the Jazz, you're playing back-to-back with the Spurs, but you've had a night off in between. So those back-to-back games are separated. But this is that game, again, that I always talk about with the Jazz, where it's a must-win game.
Right.
And that what is the right way to say this? That benefit of the doubt that this Jazz team gets when they're 100%, I don't know that that's there anymore. And there were a lot of YouTube comments yesterday. One guy was saying, well, this Jazz team is taking it easy. They're only playing, at 65% effort. No, my ass. This team's trying everything they can. If you watch Jazz games, and I know Jake and I never watch Jazz games.
we don't even have a TV. We do watch Chicago PD, but we don't really have a TV.
Yeah, we watch that on our phone, and our phone only works for Chicago PD because that's how we roll in this house. But we don't watch Jazz games. But when I watch Jazz games, the thing that I notice right away is that there absolutely is want to and desire and effort there. This Jazz team, whether it be Royce O'Neal or, you look at what Bojan Bogdanovic is doing right now, they're busting their ass. They're trying to win every game. So this idea, and the commenter on YouTube was talking about how, they're at 65% effort. No, they're not.
Yeah, Rudy's 24 and 15 is 60% effort, I'm sure.
Well, but the thing is, and a lot of people don't want to talk about this with the Jazz, right now with this group of talent and these guys on the floor, their 100% looks like 65%. That's how good Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley are and how important they are to this lineup. But having seen what LeBron's going through and some of the other injuries in the conference, maybe the Jazz are smart for super slow playing guys when they don't know that they're going to win, but what they know is they're better than San Antonio without Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley.
Yeah.
So you're likely to win that game. Why would you rush that back? The game of consequence is Friday night against Denver.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think you make a great point. I think that for the Jazz, I agree with you. They're definitely not playing 60%. They're playing 100%. They're doing everything that they can possibly do to win these games. But at the same time, when we talk about the coaching staff and in the front office and the kind of the mentality right now, I do think that there is this kind of there's this conversation happening about, okay, we're going to walk this really, really fine line. So, okay, it's the Spurs. We won the first game. We have a night off, and then we're playing them again. Okay, we're not going to rush these two back. Oh, we're playing back-to-back, not that this is the case, but like back-to-back of Phoenix and Portland, and these are two games that we have to have. Okay, then maybe we think about bringing our boys back, sooner than maybe we're comfortable with. But right now, I think that as long as you are, and it's so funny how this worked out, but as long as you are tied with the Suns, you still have the opportunity to win the 1 seed. I think once you're officially a game behind the Suns, then that's when this conversation changes.
Yep, I agree. Mikey says, I just don't see what you guys are looking at. It's very clear Quinn Snyder is managing the load of many of these players, and they are not giving their level best. What makes you say they're not? You're talking about your team, and you're saying that your team is not trying hard. That's ridiculous. I don't see a single Jazz player on the floor, and forget the young guys like Oni and Forrest. You know that they're doing everything they can do to achieve.
Yeah.
I look at guys like Royce O'Neal the other night, like sprinting through a passing lane and then sprinting down the floor to get the pass to make the dunk. Like, he doesn't have to do that. Like, if you look at Rudy, Rudy blocking shots, Rudy, working hard on the glass, jumping up and down in that jump ball situation the other night with Pirtle, that's not 65% effort.
But I think what's happening here is people are misinterpreting what Quinn is doing. So the comment was, hey, Quinn is clearly managing minutes. And I actually respectfully disagree with that. I don't think the reason the rotation is changing is because he's trying to manage minutes. I think what he's doing is he understands that right now, much like the Lakers, right now, the second tier player on this roster, that group of guys, has to come together so that when Mike and Don come back, this group is good, and then we can add Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell to a solidified quality basketball group.
But see, here's the question I have about that. Mm-hmm. Are you really going to play Trent Forrest in the playoffs?
No, I mean, you're not. Trent Forrest is not going to get meaningful minutes, but I think right now, this is definitely an opportunity to get him some minutes. I mean, he's a young guy. You do not want to run Joe Ingles and Bogey and all these guys into the ground with minutes, So, yes, on one hand, it's like, oh, well, they're managing minutes. Well, managing minutes is like playing a guy like 15 minutes, like the Suns do with Chris Paul on certain nights, That's not what's happening here. What they're doing is they're saying, hey, we're looking for some different combinations here. Let's put Forrest out there with a different set of guys this time than we did last time and see how it works out. See what the opportunity is. See what he can read on the floor, and that's what I think is happening. And I like it, but at the same time, I'd also like it a lot more if you were up, 3 or 4 games on the 1 seed. I don't love where they are right now.
Yeah, and Ty says, do you guys just like to argue? Is this show is turned into Jazz fans are always wrong? But
about what? About what?
And there's more to his comment here, but you're talking about you. How do I say this intelligently? You're crazy if you think the Jazz aren't trying to win every game with 100% of what they got. That's not who competitors at this level are. And his other point is load managing means you're not trying your best to win games. No, that is not what load management means. That's not what that means, dude. Load management means that you are giving Joe Ingles, lighter minutes. You're load managing a guy. Like, look at the way the Suns load manage Chris Paul. How do they do that? They play him in the fourth quarter. They play him in crunch time. But what they do is, in the second quarter, instead of giving him a 4-minute rest, they're giving him an 8-minute rest. Because you know that you have other guys. Carter right now for the Suns is playing really good basketball, right? You know that you have guys who can step in there. Cam Johnson plays a huge role last night. When Devin Booker, load managing Devin Booker in the third quarter, when the game is when the Cavs are making their comeback. So what do? You rest Devin Booker 6 minutes instead of 4 minutes, and Mikal Bridges stands in the corner where he's automatic from 3, and he keeps you in the lead in that game. Mm-hmm. That's load managing. That doesn't mean you're not trying to win. With the Jazz, it's pretty simple here, right? You've made the decision that you are not going to play Mike Conley until he is at his level best. Absolutely the best that hamstring can be. That's when we'll play Mike Conley.
And I agree with that.
Right. So what are you doing? You're looking at Joe Ingles having to bring the ball up a lot more. What is that? What's the side effect of that? Those are arduous, more difficult, more stressful minutes. So what are you doing? He's sitting long stretches in the second and the fourth quarter. And you can see where we were at the game the other night, even though we don't watch Jazz basketball. We were at the Jazz game the other night, and we were sitting there saying, when is Ingles coming back here?
Yeah.
Against Toronto in a game that was actually really close.
Yeah.
But what he's doing is he is using other figures. He is using – that's why do you think that Bojan Bogdanovic is so aggressive to the rack right now? Because stylistically this team has changed and they found success. That doesn't mean they're not trying their best because guys like Derek Favors are getting fewer minutes. Guys like Rudy Gobert are playing less minutes, less longer stretches.
I would love to understand where this whole thought came from. I mean,
it's amazing to me.
I don't even mean it from a. I'm not trying to criticize people. I'm just genuinely surprised that people really believe that the the Jazz are giving 60% effort. I mean, honestly, like they're not.
Crazy.
Like I don't know. I really. I mean, you're talking about a team that has worked. I mean, think about it. I mean, this team has worked their ass off all year to get this 1 seed, pretty much locked up, and now they're pretty much in the fight of their lives to get it. I mean, the Suns are level with them. They're right there. I mean, they're just as good. And I think that, I guess it just seems like sometimes in the comments, I feel like we get takes that are just like so out of the blue. And I feel like you got that from somewhere else, someone like a national head or like some kind of like just some take to have a take. And it's like, there's no way that these guys are showing up and giving 60%. That's just not what it looks like.
And so finally, I get to say this. Hey, man, do you even watch games, Ty? Are you because I don't see anybody not give it 100%. James Knight, good morning to you from Down Under, says Utah Jazz should take note. Getting Don and Mike is healthy is way more important than the seeding. I think they're both equally as important. If the Jazz don't have the number 1 seed, they have no chance. Yeah, they have no chance to win a championship, in my opinion. If you have to go on the road in a 7-gamer against the Suns and you don't have the altitude and you don't have the Vivint advantage, I don't know how that works. Casey Finlinson says, morning, my friends. Mirzinski, good morning to you. Sean says, oddly enough, I feel that the Lakers play better without LeBron than with him.
Well, it's kind of crazy to say it, dude.
Well, when he's hurt right now, I think the Lakers, and that's why, we started the show talking about this, but that's why when you look at the Lakers right now, I think the Lakers, with the way LeBron is, the Lakers are better without him. And I know that's crazy. He is still arguably the best player in the world, but he's playing on what basically acts as a broken leg. A high ankle sprain is a broken leg. You have those 2 bones at the bottom of your leg that come together, and a high ankle sprain means those bones spread apart. It stretches the ligaments, and they stretch to the point where they nearly break. A lot of high ankle sprains involve a small fracture, a hairline fracture. He does not have that, but that's to the point that those bones stretch apart. That's what LeBron's dealing with. So when you hear that he came back too soon and he has severe pain in that ankle, dude, you're better without him. Yeah. Because the other truth here about the Lakers, just the same with the Utah Jazz, if you don't have a fully ready to go LeBron James that can jump, explode, he needs the 3-ball, frankly. He needs to be able to shoot the 3 to play his game. If you don't have that guy, you're not going to win a championship. And as unlikely as it is that the Lakers will have to go the long route home, which is through the play-in tournament, it's highly unlikely you'd win a championship doing that. Without LeBron, I just don't see that there is an opportunity to do that. Because Denver, the Clippers, the Suns, the Jazz, like all those teams are elite. And you're looking at a team, what's a comparison to the Lakers, right? Like the Nets last night. Like the Nets just stopped making shots against the Bucks in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. But you know that James Harden's coming back. That's a guy they're not rushing back. Because the Brooklyn Nets know they don't need to be the number 1 seed to win a championship. That is a team that is, as I think, is the most talented team in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I think they know they don't need that to win. By the way, again, I'll just ask, why did the Jazz not try to sign Mike James? Because I think he's giving Brooklyn incredible contributions.
Yeah.
That team's lethal. The Lakers don't have that margin for error. They don't have that luxury, if you will. LeBron is a really important part of that team if they're going to win a championship.
Yeah, I think that the Nets are the only team that can operate the way they do. I don't think there's another team in the league that has that much talent. And I think, again, to bring this back home, I think for the Jazz, we can always go down the rabbit hole of like, hey, they didn't draft well enough, or hey, they didn't do anything at the deadline. Everybody knows what that looks like, And so I think at this point, you just have to deal in realities, which is you have a solid roster. It just is it lacks some key things that you'd really like to have, and so I think right now, I think it is for Conley. Yeah, it needs to be. You're not coming back to your 100%. And then for Don, I think that he gets the benefit of the doubt because he is one of the best players in the league. So if he says to you, hey, I'm good to go, let's go ahead and give this thing a shot, then I think you got to let him play, but you just have to be mindful of that, because the last thing you want to do here is have him come back too early because he's eager and he wants to play, and then another setback happens, just like it happened with LeBron.
Nick Yarmio says the Jazz are using load management coaching strategy by design. Trust me, the coaches show asked it. No way a tie is better for Utah than Phoenix. And when it comes to the playoffs, where you have 100% effort, you're going to see that Phoenix is a good team, but they're not as good as Utah. Man,
I just respectfully disagree. I mean, I'm not saying that that's a dumb take. I'm not saying that that's like way off base. I just respectfully disagree. I think, what did we see in the first matchup? Not this last one, but the first one, where both teams were 100% healthy. The Suns edged out the Jazz, and that game in particular was very much a postseason style game, half court basketball, possession by possession, that kind of a game. And I just think that the Suns, God bless their souls, nobody watches Suns basketball, and I really don't understand it. Like, nobody, even on the national game, we've done shows the day after the Suns have been on ESPN where everybody and their mom can watch the game, and we still have people saying, "Oh, well, they're not as good as the Jazz." And I'm just saying, dude, I don't know what product you're looking at. I don't know what you see that makes you feel like the Suns aren't as good.
Yeah, Mario Cindric on YouTube says, I like when these so-called sports experts run their mouths about something that people already knew. Bogdanovich did all these things while he was with the Pacers. He led them to the playoffs in 2018 with Depot hurt. And he goes on to say, Bogdanovich is a leader and a captain of his national team, something that Americans don't give an F about. Okay, well, we don't give an F about the national team because it's a completely different style of game. The international European game is completely different. Nobody's saying that Bojan Bogdanovic is a bad leader. What I'm saying about Bojan is the same thing that I said yesterday and a month before and the month previous. This has never been who Bojan Bogdanovic is with the Jazz. He's never been attack the basket, play with your back to the basket. He's been one thing. He has been a three-point shooter on this club.
By the way, wasn't Indiana 4 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago?
Yeah, several years ago. I don't remember the year that he left, and I'll look it up real quick. But this is not who he's been with the Utah Jazz. Look, I think there are a lot of, clearly the Bojan Bogdanovic supporters came out of the woodwork yesterday on YouTube, and I appreciate that. We got a lot of we got a lot of European vitriol yesterday, Jake.
Bojan.
Yeah, don't start that, please. Because that will only bring more European hate. But we got a lot of Euro vitriol. He left the Pacers after the 2019 season. So this is his second season with the Jazz. But he was in Washington. He was with the Nets before that. There was even a Fenerbahce fan who was talking about his play there. Listen, he's never been a guy for the Jazz who played with his back to the basket or attacked the rim.
And that's not a criticism of him. They didn't ask him to do that.
It's an evolution of his game.
He didn't need to do that because they had all their guys playing. So again, we talked about this on Monday. What happens to Bojan's game when Don and Mike come back?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
he gets the ball a hell of a lot less. That's what it looks
But
like.
my thing is are the Jazz going to make an effort to get him in the block, get him in the post, get him those
No, I
high
don't think
percentage
so.
looks early in the game?
Because what's going to happen, you can't have three guys playing in the paint. And you already have Rudy. You're going to have, at that point, you would have Bojan as well and Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan's game is predicated on attacking the basket. And I think that if Bojan is there, I think they will probably have sets for him. I think they will have opportunities for him to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be, all right, let's just start this set with Bojan on the block. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to how their game flows. So it is what it is. Sakshay Chakravarty, who you're Sakshay Jazz. It just is what it is. Anthony Davis never won anything by himself. He had a decent support in New Orleans, but couldn't even crack the playoffs consistency. He is why the Lakers won a championship last year. Him and Cantavius.
Again, this is once again one of those conversations that is a deeper basketball conversation that makes you look silly if you say that Anthony Davis had nothing to do with the Lakers championship or he didn't do anything in New Orleans.
Like, that's what Sakshay is saying.
Like, let me ask you this: if he did nothing in New Orleans, why is it that the Lakers gave up their entire family and the farm to get him? I mean, that it's just that simple, dude. Like, you don't. Like, he is right now still one of the most dominant players in the NBA. I mean, I just can't believe that you would say that he did nothing in New Orleans. Like, you're talking about the Pelicans. Like, come on, dude. Like, they had nothing but him. That's it. So, I don't know. That's one of those where I'm like, dude, like, what are you talking about, man? Like, that just seems out on the reservation.
I disagree with this respectfully.
Hello.
Disagree. Giggity says, morning, fellas, 500 subs today. Let's hope so. Make sure you hit subscribe right now on the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. We are giving away this right here. If you're watching on YouTube, we're giving away this Xbox Series S. As soon as we get to 500 subscribers, we're going to pull a name on the very next program, and we will give away. Yes, we ship internationally. All you have to do is take a picture of your YouTube channel that shows you're subscribed. Put that picture on Twitter and tag us, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show, and SLC Supercars. When you do that, you can do that, by the way, on Twitter, Instagram. When you do that, you're entered to win the Xbox. Boom, done. It's that simple.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, and when we get to 500 subs, hopefully today, we will absolutely give that one away. Eric in Raleigh says the Warriors ruined a lot of teams' ability to achieve in the playoffs. Well, the Warriors introduced a three-point shot for sure. Giggity says, did you see the reverse dunk by Cam last night? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, my good. Cam Johnson's turning into a guy. Like, he is going to get more consistent with his three. But now he's attacking the basket because the ball's not going in the hoop from three.
Yeah.
I mean, that reverse last night. Mikal Bridges, I mean, if you missed the game last night in Cleveland with the Suns, Mikal Bridges absolutely dominated at the end of the fourth quarter in overtime.
Closer, bro.
I mean, it was unbelievable. Let's see. Sean says, I don't like LeBron either, but you've got to give him credit for all he's done, not just this year, but his whole career. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the greatest players ever. Eric in Raleigh says he's a top 5 player in the history of the league. I just can't wait until he retires. I think there's a lot of people like that. Gabe Ledley says, morning from Tucson, fellas. Had to come see GCU baseball. Take that 2-13 L from Arizona. Now I'm driving back to Phoenix. See what he did there? That's a Sean Miller, Sweaty Sean reference. Good morning to you, Gabe Ledley. Casey Finlinson says, are the Suns built for a championship?
Built for a championship?
I'm waiting for Chris Paul to get hurt. Is that a terrible thing to say?
It's not a terrible thing to say. It's true. If
he stays healthy, they are.
Nobody wants to talk about that, whether it's Conley, Chris Paul, any of these dudes. But we can't talk about Mike and then not talk about Chris. I mean, that's definitely the case.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, I think culturally, things are very different.
What do you mean?
I think for the Suns, culturally, things are very, very different. They're not the same old Suns that missed the playoffs for a decade. Mm-hmm. I think that's interesting. I just think it is I think it's interesting that you can change that with one player.
Well, yeah, because but they didn't just change it with one player though. That's a very that's surface level. Like they didn't just bring a bunch of G League players in and Chris Paul all of a sudden has carried them to the promised land. I mean, you're talking about building this starting five through the draft. You drafted Book, you drafted Mikal Bridges, you drafted DeAndre Ayton, you drafted Cam Johnson. Again, this team was built through the draft, and then they added Chris Paul to a mostly drafted team, which is the way you should go about it. That's what most great. That's basically how you build a dynasty. Honestly, you have to draft. You have to hit it. You have to hit home runs in the draft, and then you add to that with what you weren't able to get.
Mr. Mitch, maybe we just have lost our vibe. I don't know. Mr. Mitch says you're complimenting the Suns' new culture, but you won't say nice things about the attitude in Utah. It's amazing how biased you are against the Jazz.
What are you talking about, guy?
Okay, the problem is, show me, don't tell me.
Whoa, hold on. Wait, seriously, I don't mean to cut you off, but hold on. We just sat here and defended the Jazz from all these comments this morning about how, they're giving 60% and they don't care. And we're sitting here talking about how, hey, they're giving 100%, they're working really hard. And then you want to comment and say that, you guys are biased, against the Jazz towards the Suns.
I think what he's saying is the trade deadline. That's what I'm guessing, because I don't think that the Jazz. I don't think the Jazz did everything they could do at the deadline to be an NBA champion in June and July. I don't think they did. I don't think they did anything in the buyout market to make sure that if they had a major injury, I don't know, like Donovan Mitchell, that they had a Bradley Beal or a number 2 or a Mike James, the best player in Europe who was available, and they didn't even offer on him. The Utah Jazz did not do everything they could do to bolster this roster. So instead, now we're getting, absolute fluffer service out of Trent Forrest. And this was also asked. Read the media around the Utah Jazz. Read the beat writers around the Jazz. There is so much beeging of Trent Forrest now.
Excuse me. The proper nomenclature is slurping.
Yes, thank you. There is so much slurping of Trent Forrest, and Trent Forrest is not going to get major minutes in the playoffs. I'm telling Oni, they're going to play 7-8 guys in the playoffs. My guess is George Niang is going to see a limited role in the playoffs. I think off the bench you're going to see Favors and Clarkson, and then situationally, if a guy fits. I don't think you're going to see 20 minutes out of George Niang. I just don't. I don't think that's who Quinn Snyder is. And we can sit here and we can, sugarcoat things and, slurp the Jazz all day if you want. But on this show, we keep it real. And I'm telling you right now, the Utah Jazz did not do everything they could do to ensure that A, they won the number 1 seed, and B, they won an NBA championship. And by the way, when have they ever been in a better position to win an NBA championship than they are right now? There's no Michael Jordan standing in their way in the East. Because every team out East has a fatal flaw, and this Jazz team is good enough to beat any team in the East, especially defensively. So don't tell me that, you're biased, Mr. Mitch. I'm not being biased. What I'm telling you is there has to be an attitude change. You have a new owner. You have all kinds of energy and money that's being pumped into this team. Go buy some talent. Nobody will come here. Okay, go trade for some talent.
Mike James wouldn't come here?
I mean, it's amazing to me that here we are, and we still are trying to explain why the Utah Jazz didn't make a move at the deadline and why they didn't make a move in the buyout market.
Yeah.
I'm amazed by that.
Yeah.
That's incredible to me.
Yeah.
Casey Finlinson says the Jazz need Ryan Smith and D. Wade to change the, quote, happy to be here culture around the organization.
But by the way,
exactly
what's
right.
I mean, I know Dwayne Wade's been here for 5 minutes, but this was a guy who was supposed to come in and give this team a bunch of advice and really upgrade everything, and that hasn't quite happened yet in my opinion. So I love guys like Mitch and Ty and all these guys that want to come in here and criticize us, but at the same time, I'm just going to keep saying it to you guys straight in your face. What have we been wrong about? Find me what we've been wrong about on this team. What exactly have we said on this show over the last 90 days, 100 days that we've been wrong about. We told you they were going to lose by 20 to the Suns. We told you they should have done more at the trade deadline. We told you that Aaron Gordon was going to be a really legit great addition for the Nuggets. We told you months ago that Nikola Jokic was going to be in the MVP conversation. We told you that the Suns were a problem. You didn't want to listen to us. And now where are we? We're right here. We're sitting right here. We've nailed every single thing on this team, and you want to come in here in the comments and tell us that we don't know what we're talking about. Maybe you should go back and listen, and maybe you should take a realistic look at this team instead of coming in here with frustration and telling us we don't know what we're talking about.
Mr. Rich back in, he says, you guys are right 99% of the time, but it just feels like you being right is haterade. I think you meant haterade. But it's, okay.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
You're not the Utah Jazz. Again, I don't know how to say this any more succinctly than sit here and make me the case that the Jazz did everything they could do to win a championship right now, today, this year.
How is it that being right and having haterade don't go together? They are not together, right?
Yeah.
Being right about something means that you did your homework, you were factual, you were logical in the take that you have, which is what we bring you guys every single day, and we work hard to make sure that we don't just throw outlandish crap out there on this show, right? Haterade would be saying, well, Donovan Mitchell isn't a superstar, and he's never going to take this team anywhere, and he's hurt, so this team sucks. That would be hating. Yeah. But we don't bring you that, and that's why I say, like, forgive me for being frustrated with the comments, but at some point, you guys have to come around to the idea that just because you don't like what we have to say doesn't mean that we're hating on the Jazz.
Yeah.
We're giving you a realistic view. I mean, what would you rather have? Would you rather have all the beat writers and all the people in this town that cover the Jazz telling you that Trent Forrest is some amazing player who was a great draft pick and who's going to be the second coming of Donovan Mitchell, which just is not true? Or would you rather listen to something that is like, hey, this is where the Jazz are at. They're a really good team. They've got some injuries, and they didn't do what they needed to do.
And you hit me with a tweet yesterday talking about how one of the guys at the Zone here in Salt Lake City was tweeting about how the Jazz have drafted so well, and Dennis Lindsey, and finding Trent Forrest and Oni, and it's like, yeah, that's cool that you won in the second round. The problem is you win and lose the draft in the first round. But that's the kind of spin you get from the flagship.
Yeah.
That's the kind of, and I love Ben Anderson. I still believe he's the best NBA guy in this town. But I think Ben Anderson's in a position where he's not going to be critical of the Jazz. He just won't. I think if you want the unvarnished truth in the media here, you go to Tony Jones.
I agree with that.
I think Tony is as straight shooter as you get. But my point is, we don't have a bias on this show because we're not beholden to anybody. We're beholden to us and you.
By the way,
that's it.
By the way, it should be said, we make zero money on this show.
None.
We don't make $1 on this show. We get up at 4:45 every day to deliver a product that's honest and truthful about our local teams.
Yeah.
And that I think should really speak, volumes and show you guys that it's not that we're just trying to hate on the Jazz. Like, we're not going to sit here and say that this team has done a great job in the draft, or like that this team is somewhere where they're not. Yes, they're a great team. I feel like you guys always point out when we criticize them, but you don't want to point out when we're sitting here defending them about, we got all these comments today about, they're giving 60% effort. And it's like, no, they're not. They're giving 100% effort. They just find themselves in a little bit of a situation right now.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, like, if you're going to come in here and criticize us, just understand that we're not here to hate on the Jazz. We're here to give you the honest to God truth about where this team's at.
Yeah, let's see. SeekYT says, guys, almost over 500 followers. Sean says you should be able to get it during the show today. Two away. Oh, we're 2 away from 500 now. Are we really at?
Hey.
I don't.
The
track
time is
it
coming.
I don't track it that closely during the. Yeah, we're at 498. Wow, how about that?
Let's go.
How about that?
Let's go.
Again, subscribe to the show right now. If you're watching, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Hit subscribe. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit subscribe. Take a photo that you're subscribed. Put that photo on Twitter or Instagram and tag The Monty Show, MONTY The Monty Show, or SLC Supercars. You do that, you're entered to win. The 500th subscriber will be entered to win this Xbox Series 501
won't.
501 will not.
500
so
will.
500 will. And what I'm saying is, as soon as we cross 500, like if we do it during the show, we'll give it away tomorrow on the show. Absolutely, because we need to do it fairly. We need to make sure we have all the entries. We're putting them into a pot. We're going to draw a name right here on the show. And then, yes, we will ship internationally, too.
Yes.
I get that question every day. James Knight says, is that right, Jake? So Brooklyn built their roster through the draft?
I didn't say that Brooklyn built their roster through the draft.
Where
That's
did
not
that
what
come from?
I didn't say that. I said the Warriors built their team through the draft. The Suns built their team through the draft.
Yes.
Right? Like, and then I'm sure James is going to come in here and say, well, they added KD. Okay, yeah, that was after they went to the finals twice or whatever it was, and Steph was a two-time
Warriors
champion, dude.
are built on Steph, Clay, and Draymond.
Yeah.
All of those are all their assets that they drafted. There are super teams that win championships. I think the Suns, the Lakers with Shaq, I would say that was money spent that won them championships. Pau Gasol, like, okay,
dude,
cool.
If we're going to talk about super teams, LeBron is still getting hated on for being the creator of super teams because that's where the super team thing started.
No, I think it's the Celtics who started the super team.
Well, okay.
Ray Allen, KG. But I would agree with you that we're going to put a team together and win. That's LeBron for sure. No doubt.
You're talking about guys who are putting teams together 5 years before the team actually can be together.
Yeah.
I mean, this Brooklyn team has been in the works for legit 5 years. I mean, KD and Kyrie have been talking about it for years.
And then James Harden just happened. See, but this is the thing. This is why I don't vilify Brooklyn for this. If you could do it, you would do it too.
100%.
If James Harden became available and you didn't call the Houston Rockets, you're not trying to win a championship.
Like the Utah Jazz.
And I was just going to say, does anybody think the Jazz called the Rockets about James Harden? My guess is they did not. And I think you're a fool if he's available and you don't make that call. I just do. Jake, Ian says, Jake, why do you think Mike James would have had a significant impact on the Jazz?
Because I think Mike James is Jordan Clarkson 2.0. I think he's more consistent. I think he is a better distributor.
An elite handle.
I think Mike James plays the game, plays the mental side of basketball at a higher level than Jordan Clarkson does. Meaning that, when we were at the game Saturday and in other games that we've watched, a lot of times Jordan Clarkson goes into, I have the ball, I need to score. It's my job in life to score this basketball, rather than saying, hey, okay, what's the situation in front of me? Am I in a situation where I've got a good matchup that I can play one-on-one with and go score? Okay, great. Or does the situation dictate that I should play pick and roll with Rudy, or whatever the case may be? And that's why I think, if you go and watch, I would encourage you guys, go and watch what Mike James recently has done in Europe, and then go and watch what he's doing for Brooklyn. You will see it's very similar. The situations that he's able to create are very similar, and he makes the right decision.
Well, and I think the other thing that stands out to you, if you look at what Mike James does, it's exactly what the Jazz are missing. Joe Ingles being on the ball is not good for Joe Ingles or the Jazz. Mm-hmm. Joe Ingles is a much better player away from the ball when he's not having to be point jingles. As I like to call him. Mike James is an elite distributor. His court vision, his passing, his ability to finish amongst the trees in the paint. If you just look at his Nets highlights, you look at his shot-making ability while he was in Italy, oh, my goodness.
And I do think you make a good point about, also we noticed that Jordan Clarkson does not play a lot of point guard for this team. He plays a lot of two guard. He plays a lot of scoring guard. And I think that is something else that Mike does do for the Nets quite a bit.
And I will just ask you.
Yeah.
Who would Mike James be playing instead of on this roster right now? Trent Forrest.
Yeah.
And if you look at Forrest, his three-point shooting is 20%. Mike James is an elite three-point shooter. His screen and roll game lacks. Mike James is an elite pick and roll, screen and roll player.
Yeah.
Mike James would make a significant impact on this team. James Knight said, let's be real. Good teams only run 8 or 9 deep for the most part in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I agree.
We were just saying that.
If Harden came to Utah, they would have one less Jazz fan. I hate that guy. If James Harden came to Utah, you'd be odds-on favorites to win a championship this year.
Yeah.
And he and Donovan Mitchell would be unbelievable.
By the way, just want to make sure we're clarifying. We're not sitting here saying that we actually like James Harden as a guy or that James Harden is our favorite player.
I want him on my team.
But everybody can agree, dude can score the basketball. Dude would take you to the finals. Dude would make this team way better. So let's not sit here and say, well, we wouldn't want James Harden on the team. Yeah, you would, but we don't like him. I think, I agree with that comment.
Yeah. Rex says anybody who listens to this show knows that Monty and Jake keep it straight. Monty, I appreciate you from way back in the K-Fan days. Well,
oh, my God.
That. Thank you.
Let's go.
Casey Finlinson said, if people think this show is biased towards anything outside of Nike, then they haven't listened ever. Truth. By the way, brand new Jordan on the wall today. Brand new Jordan, the Red 13 is on the wall.
My mind is blown!
8 spots left. Oh, by the way, 7 because I won to draw yesterday.
So wait, what's going to happen when the shoe wall gets filled up, bro? I mean, what do we, Well, we're going to build another shoe wall.
Emma, what do you do? It is what it is. It's my passion. That's what I'm saying. James Knight says Harden is a culture killer.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a conversation around that. I definitely think. I think that. So here's the thing. It kind of, this conversation has evolved. So before the production in Brooklyn happened, before the James Harden effect happened in Brooklyn, and everything went down with the Rockets, yeah, I think you could have made a really strong case that James Harden was a selfish player and a player that blows up locker rooms, But then he goes to Brooklyn and everything seems to be fine, and I don't quite know how to explain that other than to just say that there was either a philosophical difference between Harden and the Rockets front office or whatever. Harden just had an issue, and I think that what we're seeing with the Aaron Rodgers situation, what we saw with the James Harden situation in Houston, what we're seeing across the league when guys want to move, I think you're seeing that they are going to be selfish and they're going to have a me-first mentality. And I think that part of that conversation is he's earned that right? With what he's done in the league, he's earned the right to be selfish. But I also agree with this Jazz team and the culture this team has, this is a very team-first organization. I think we can all agree on that. So in reality, the fit of James Harden would be interesting, to say the least. And by the way, this team is not one to just go out handing out long-term contracts. Rudy's contract was the first one in a bit that was like, wow, this is like a big boy long-term deal right here. And that's what James Harden was looking for.
Mikey asked an interesting question. Are you saying that the Suns need home court advantage less because they're better on the road? I'm saying that's absolutely the truth. I think if you look at these two teams, the Jazz and the Suns, everybody wants home court advantage.
Of course.
There's no doubt about that. But if you're, and I just asked this question on Twitter, so I'm interested to see who comes back. The Phoenix Suns are the best road team in the NBA.
25-9 right now, I think.
I mean,
on the road.
They are able to execute at a very high level away from no-name arena, Phoenix Suns Arena, which is weird to me. Phoenix Suns Arena. They're able to execute on the road, and it's because Chris Paul. It's because of the maturation of Devin Booker. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And the other thing is, it's not that the Jazz are bad on the road, because they're not. But this team's home court advantage is so overwhelming.
It's real, bro.
Even when, again, we don't watch games, but when we were at the game the other night, even a quarter-filled building is loud and raucous and difference-making.
The booing that happened with some of those calls was crazy.
Yes. It was loud. It was loud at the Vivint the other night. And I think that you're seeing that the Jazz have what I maintain. Salt Lake City's a really good home court advantage. I'm telling you, like Rice-Eccles Stadium is undervalued. I think when it's full and the Utes are good, the Utah Utes football team has the best home field advantage in football, and people undervalue that.
I think Salt Lake City sports fans, just in general, whether it is the Utes or BYU or the Jazz or whatever, I think Salt Lake City sports fans are definitely one of the most underrated fan bases in terms of passion and how much they watch. We always hear about, the Brooklyn fans and Philly and New York and all these East Coast, hard asses are great fans. But honest to goodness, what does it say about a half full arena that they can absolutely light it up, with the booing and affecting the game? And I think it's crazy. It's awesome.
It is. It's interesting to me. It is what it is. Austin Lewis says, "Did you guys get my tweet? My handle is Austin71811010."
Yeah, I can look.
Gabe Ledley says Utah Karens be getting loud. Yes, they do.
Utah Karens.
I would agree with that. I just think you have the difference between home court advantage in Phoenix and Utah is in Phoenix you have a lot of transient fans. Frankly, like when the Lakers come to Phoenix, it's a Laker crowd.
Yeah.
Just because you have so many transplants in the Valley, it's very difficult. And I think when the Suns are playing the Washington Wizards, it's a Suns crowd.
Yeah.
When the Suns play the Chicago Bulls, when the Coyotes play the Chicago Blackhawks, when the D-backs play the Cubs, when the Mets, the Yankees, when anybody comes into Phoenix from a major metro area, Florida, New York, Chicago, it's Cleveland with the Cleveland Browns fans. Like, there's so many people that relocate to Arizona because of finances, taxes, home values. It's a great place to live, except it's really hot. But all those fans are in Phoenix, and so the home court advantage is less. I can tell you the Mormon population and the Utah alumni are massive in Arizona. So you have a lot of Utah Jazz fans there.
Yeah.
And having been the Jazz Suns games, it's a lot of loud Jazz fans when the Jazz are in Phoenix. Anyway, my point is, listen, I think the Jazz need home court advantage more because it's so overwhelming.
By the way, to Austin, I didn't get your tweet. Just saying.
When did you send it,
Yeah,
Austin?
when did you send it? Because I don't
If you
see
sent it within the last 2 weeks, you're on the list.
Yeah.
We track every tweet that comes in, so
Yeah.
don't worry about that. Blue Rice says on YouTube, Rudy doesn't belong in the MVP conversation. That's an offensive award, period. There's some merit to that. Daniel Haroop says, wow, what great masters of basketball. They know a lot. Bojan played like this his whole life. I think that was a sarcastic comment. I could be wrong. We don't know. We don't watch basketball.
Sometimes I think I just say shit. Sample what comes out of my mouth.
It is what it is. Let's switch gears and talk Sharon Rodgers and Brett Favre. I hate them both, but I like talking about them right now because the Packers are in shambles. So after you subscribe to the good old YouTube channel, we need 2 more subscribers to give this Xbox away. Make sure that you tag us on Twitter, The Monty Show, SLC Supercars, with a picture of your YouTube account saying you're subscribed, and we're going to give away this Xbox. Yeah. By the way, real quick, yes, we're serious that we are giving away another prize at 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, no doubt about it, bro. Yeah, we were talking about it yesterday.
Everybody who's subscribed. So if you don't win the Xbox,
that's okay.
You'll have another chance at 1,000. Trust me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's going to be because it's going to be tough to beat an Xbox giveaway. But anyways, let's talk about Sharon Rodgers and how much his family hates him. You know that Aaron Rodgers has told the Packers he doesn't want to play there anymore and he will not come back. Well, Brett Favre apparently knows a thing or two about screwing the Packers on the way out the door, which is exactly what he did when he went to the Jets, only to find his way back to Minnesota. And he went on some podcast that I think is about bowling. I could be wrong. And he had this to say about Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
And knowing Aaron, and I think I know him fairly well, if he has a grudge, whether it be against the organization or a player or an arch rival, family, friends, he ain't budging. I don't see him coming back. And if this is not resolved, whatever the issue is, or even if it's resolved, but he feels like they got one up on him, he ain't gonna play. Knowing Aaron, he would sit.
Okay. Thank you for the music at the end.
Yeah, sorry there. My bad.
That was invigorating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
First of all, who is Brett Favre to criticize somebody for issues in their personal life when you were sending DMs of your thumb to other women?
But is he criticizing him though?
No, he just keeps it real.
I don't think he's
But
criticizing
if we're
him.
ripping the Jazz, isn't he ripping Aaron Rodgers in his personal life?
I guess. I mean, hey.
You're Aaron fucking Rodgers.
Right? Like, you should be able to do whatever you want.
Okay,
but,
so
come on.
it is true. Aaron Rodgers does not speak to his family. Whatever that issue is, Aaron has not named it, neither is his family. He's talked to his parents, his brothers, none of that. That is known. When he dumps a chick, much like Jake, he does it over text.
Cold-blooded, bro.
But, I mean, when you dump that dead weight, there's nothing wrong with doing it over text. That's all I'm saying.
What's wrong with you?
Anyway, the point is that Aaron Rodgers is not good at breaking up with people, much like Jake. And when Aaron Rodgers hates you, you're dead to him.
You're welcome.
He's not. You're gone, right? Yeah, you're welcome. You're dead. You're dead. When you're dead, you're dead. You're done. Out. See
It's
ya.
over.
Hey, Danica, see you later. Like Olivia Munn. God, how do you break up with Olivia Munn?
Got me, man.
The procreatorial behavior in bed at night is got to. It's got to be worth at least the headache that you have anyway.
Was that a euphemism? The headache.
Hey, baby. Anyway, the point is, Olivia Munn is amazing. But when he breaks up with you or stops talking to you or has a fallout with you, it's over. So the idea that Aaron Rodgers is all of a sudden going to have some fallout with the Green Bay Packers and be like, screw it. I'll take some more Gouda cheese. That's not going to happen.
Cold-blooded, clean, methodical, and thorough.
It's over. And I'm telling you, he's going to go play for Horseface in the Denver Broncos.
Horseface.
Like that. I mean, it is what it be. Right? I just think... it is what it is. Gabe Ledley, no. He said, I heard you guys were taking a subscriber with you to Hawaii in November for 1,000 subs.
I mean,
Gabe?
why do you have to give us ideas like that?
Wait. He's in Tucson. So the only way to cope with being in Tucson is to be drunk. I can only assume.
Yeah. Hey, maybe.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Just point north. Anyway, I don't know what we'll do at 1,000. I think Aaron Rodgers is done in Green Bay. I don't think there's any way he goes back. And I think Brett Favre is exactly right. When he says it, when Aaron's done with you, he's done with you.
Yeah.
And if he has to sit out, I think he'll sit out. He's not going to retire. Because, again, for those of you who don't know, if Aaron Rodgers retires, he's got to hand the Packers a check for about $30 million. And I don't know anybody that hates somebody enough to pay them $30 million to tell them to go F off.
Yeah, no.
Like, I don't see that happening.
Nope.
And that's money, by the way, they've already paid him, so he's probably already spent it on, not talking to his family. So my guess is that he doesn't want to pay that money back.
Yeah.
He's going to the Broncos. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. The Broncos passed on a quarterback when they had a chance to get him. I mean, there are other places. Obviously, the Raiders. With Carr and draft picks available, you could see the Raiders making that move. The place that makes the most sense where you can go in, plug in Sharon Rodgers, and win an NFL championship is the Denver Broncos. A lot of people have talked about the Baltimore Ravens. Are you really giving up on Lamar already? I mean, I would. Because
for an option that's like a 3 or 4 year thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know where Aaron Rodgers is mentally with the Packers. My guess is it's over.
Yeah.
That's just my guess.
Yeah.
So Sean says, I really think that the Broncos are in a tougher spot now with the lineman. Well, yeah. Juwan tore his ACL.
Awful. And he's not going to get paid.
His Achilles tendon.
It's his Achilles, and he's not going to get paid.
But actually, no, that may not be true that he's not getting paid. Because the off-season workout program has not officially begun in the NFL. So the rule is that if the off-season program begins and you get hurt working out away from the team, your contract they can void your contract.
Mm-hmm.
He was hurt working out before the off-season program began. So in all likelihood, they're going to have to pay him the guaranteed portion of his salary.
Yeah.
And the Broncos don't strike me as a team that is looking to screw guys. And by the way, he's had a really tough run.
Yeah.
He opted out last year. He hasn't played in 2 seasons, and now it'll be 3, so his career is probably over at this point. But I think you can go and get linemen.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Rodgers, I think that's one of his true destinations. He can wear his mullet and rock that terrible porn stash flavor saver thing on his face. I guarantee you there's some Olivia Munn in there. But my point is, you're telling me you don't keep a little bit of that on the side?
This is a tasty burger.
Oh, yes, it is. Anyway, the point is, wow, I just said that. The point is, sometimes I think I just say shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, I think Aaron Rodgers to Denver makes a lot of sense. And I think what Brett Favre said is correct. I really do. Giggity says, as a Bronco fan, I hope they pay that O-lineman his salary. I think they will. Ocho Cinco saying Rodgers to Pittsburgh. Okay, listen. They already have one a-hole at quarterback in Pittsburgh and Ben Roethlisberger. You're not going to pay both those guys, and they're kind of committed to him coming back.
Yeah.
So I don't see any way that happens. I think Baltimore's a realistic possibility. I mean, Lamar Jackson...
Listen, let's be honest.
Aaron's
Lamar,
a huge upgrade.
Yeah, Lamar is why they didn't they didn't get to the promised land last year or the year before. I mean, that's just as simple as it is. And I think, if you had a guy the caliber of Aaron Rodgers sitting back there, yeah, you would have gone a lot further, no doubt. Especially
I think he
with
would
that
have won
defense.
multiple Super Bowls now.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people talking about Lamar Jackson's fifth-year option. They picked that up, and they had no choice. You're going to pick that up.
Yeah.
I think if you trade Lamar Jackson for Aaron Rodgers, I don't know, is that attractive to Green Bay? I really don't think it is.
No.
I mean, that's not a long-term fit.
Yeah.
Is Jimmy Garoppolo more attractive than Lamar Jackson? Yes, he is. Because I think if you plug in Jimmy Garoppolo, you're a Super Bowl contender right away because, well, you're going to win the division. You're going to get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the thing is. That's the thing that I don't know about the Denver Broncos. I don't know that they have a quarterback on that roster. And, hey, look, maybe Jordan Love is their guy. I mean, he didn't dress for a single game last year. Or I should say he wasn't active for a single game last year.
Right.
I mean, how much confidence can you actually have in the guy?
Well, I always love this point of view of like, well, he didn't even dress, so how can this guy even consider starting or playing or whatever? I think we have to understand that there's a reason that he's not dressing, which is they're developing him. And I do think that, yes, game reps are priceless. You can never replicate what it feels like to be under center with a defense coming after you. You can't replicate that. But I think at the same time, if you're not dressing, you're studying the game. You're getting right mentally and getting prepared. And I think, yeah, the first couple of games he plays are probably going to be trash. Honestly, like they're probably not going to be good. But then I think you're going to start to see him come around. And I think at a minimum, he deserves a chance to get some opportunities on the field. He's waited in the wings for a while now, so I think he deserves at least a chance to show what he can do.
Yeah, I think if you are the Packers, you're not going to fire a general manager because Aaron Rodgers said so.
No, you're not.
And I think what's really interesting is that the Broncos, we all know already, tried to trade for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
They didn't draft a quarterback, and now they're trying to trade for Aaron Rodgers. And, just kind of reading the Denver media reports, Drew Lock, a 2022, a 2023, 24 first-round pick, a 2022 second, and a 2023 third. How do the Packers turn that down?
Don't know.
Do you ask for Von Miller?
No, I don't think so.
You don't?
No, I don't think so. Because Von's highest and best years are definitely behind him. He's still a good player.
Well, he's coming off of an injury, too.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think the other thing that's not getting talked about enough with this whole situation is the fact that the Packers don't have a singular owner, right? They have a group of people that owns a team, and I think that, in these situations when you're dealing with a franchise player, one of the greatest of all time, you have a lot of turbulence in the organization because of it. Having that singular ownership at the head of the table, defining what your mentality is going to be, I think would have really helped in this situation. So I think it's really interesting that this is happening to, I believe they're the only team that doesn't have a singular owner, right?
Yeah.
So it's crazy that
Justin Hintz owns the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that this is happening. So I think if you're the Packers right now, honestly, if it was me, my mission would be, okay, if we're moving on from Aaron Rodgers, we've got to get the absolute most draft capital that we can possibly get out of this whole thing.
I'm amazed at some of the questions coming in on Aaron Rodgers. Will says he's got a no-trade contract. They're not going to be able to trade him. He doesn't have a no-trade in his contract. And by the way, Aaron Rodgers has a no-trade because he's going to go where he wants to go.
Yeah, and by the way, even if he did have a no-trade, he can waive that.
He's going to go where he wants to go.
Yeah.
I mean, the structure. Adam Schefter talked about this on ESPN the other day. He does not have a no-trade in his contract. But if you're the Houston Texans and you trade for Aaron Rodgers and he doesn't want to play for you, are you really going to trade for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, what good is it?
You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to write his own ticket. But the other thing that I think you have to talk about with this Aaron Rodgers situation is he's made it very clear he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Fucking trade the guy.
Get it done. He's kind of been hinting at it for a couple seasons now. I mean, this isn't new.
For the sake of your long-term health as an organization, you're going to get multiple first-round picks and a starting quarterback in return.
Mm-hmm.
Get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Get him out of here. Let's move on now when the division's crappy.
I feel like sports teams have a really rough time with that concept. Move on now so you can continue to be relevant instead of holding on to the guy till he's far past due.
Yeah, Bo says the Denver Broncos are over a barrel here. They should have drafted a quarterback. Well, they were trying to trade for Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't have drafted a quarterback. I think they have Drew Lock. They're not supposed to be Super Bowl contenders, right? And Horseface is secure. John Elway's job is secure.
Yeah, only after he was so crappy as a GM that he went ahead and promoted himself to president of football operations.
Just saying.
So,
Just saying.
Yeah.
Giggity says, does Rodgers have any trade clause where, no, he cannot limit where he goes, but he can limit where he goes. Contractually, no. But again, he says, I saw a list of teams he wanted to go to, and supposedly,
allegedly,
it is the 49ers, it is the Raiders, and it is the Broncos. And I have no doubt that the Oakland Raiders are trying to trade for Aaron Rodgers. I have no doubt about that. Casey Finlinson, better chance to succeed early. Love or Zach Wilson? I think Zach Wilson is a premier quarterback right now today.
Okay, only caveat is that it's the Jets.
He plays for the New York Jets.
It's the only caveat.
That's exactly right. Sean says, I will go Zach, absolutely.
Yeah.
Giggity says, Love has a foundation of talent in Green Bay that I'm not sure the Jets have for Zach Wilson yet. But I don't think Jordan Love's an NFL starter. He's got an NFL arm. I saw nothing at Utah State that says to me that he is not even on Zach Wilson's level.
No, I just don't. But here's what I'm saying too, though. On the other side of that, like you drafted this guy for a reason. You got to at least put him in the game for a couple games.
Oh, now Jordan Love is the reason that Aaron Rodgers is pissed off.
Yeah,
you better give Jordan Love a chance to play.
Yeah, I mean, you made your bet here. I mean, it's time to lay in it.
But that's why Drew Lock's the perfect quarterback to trade for. Because you're going to get a pile of picks.
Yeah.
So even if both of those guys bust out, you're going to have a chance to make that right.
Yeah, you really don't care what happens this year now. I mean, your goal is to move on from Aaron, put a plan together, and start executing on that plan.
And by the way, who doesn't want to be the Green Bay Packers quarterback?
Well,
it's one of the premier franchises in the NFL.
You don't think that this Aaron Rodgers situation kind of speaks to other players coming into this organization?
No, Aaron Rodgers is a dick. Aaron Rodgers is, let's be brutally honest. Aaron Rodgers is part of the problem here. His attitude is part of the problem. But if you go to any major quarterback in this league right now, if you said to Jimmy Garoppolo, do you want to be the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers? Yes, help me pack. He's going. Derek Carr would have no problem being traded for Aaron Rodgers.
Do you think that if, with Tom Brady and his situation before he went to, Tampa, if he had handled it this same way, the way Aaron's handling it, do you think people would have called him a dick too?
Yes. I think that again, you don't get to the level of Jordan, Kobe, Brady, Mike Trout, Aaron Rodgers. You don't get to that level by being a nice guy. Yeah. You don't get to that level by believing you're just the average. Hey, I'm Tommy Brady. No, you're not. What?
You're Aaron fucking Rodgers.
That's the attitude it takes.
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit cocky because to play at that level, you have to believe that you are a god.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Conor McGregor.
That's what I'm saying. Holy cow, we're at an hour and 15 minutes right now.
From the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
Oh, sorry, Aaron. You're not a double champ yet.
You have to have that mentality.
Yeah.
A couple more comments before we talk about millennials being unhealthy. Eric and Raleigh says the Broncos also traded for Teddy Bridgewater from the Panthers. Well, that's why they don't have a quarterback. Fat Jesus says trade him to Pittsburgh so he and Ben can both be pissed off, get into a fight, and end up making out.
And you two motherfuckers need
what is wrong? Wow. What is wrong with you, Fat Jesus? Zach Wilson's mom is a premier quarterback's mom right now. She's not Luka Doncic's mom, but Giggity says, great call on Zach's mom, Fat Jesus. Ian, if you hit 500, what time will you be live tomorrow?
Same time as always.
Same time as always. We're supposed
to
be.
What are we at? Are we still at 498? 498.
We
hey,
need
man,
2 subscribers.
2 more slots. I mean,
to give
2
away
more
this
slots.
Xbox.
Hey, man, you never know who's going to win it. I mean, we don't even know who's going to win it,
No, I ain't doing. Okay, real quick before we get out of here, because wow, this show is long. Can you measure it? Come on, drop guy. I'm sorry, he's too busy looking for.
Can you
drops.
measure it?
Yeah, that have huge curse bombs in them. Millennials. They're saying that 44% of older millennials are unhealthy.
So what is an older millennial? Because I think this is important to the conversation.
30 plus.
30 plus is considered an older millennial.
Yes.
And I think you were saying that the millennial generation started in like
1981.
81. Okay.
1981.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of good reason for there to be unhealthy millennials.
Okay.
And so essentially, if you are, if you're 35 to 30 plus.
Yeah, 30 plus.
You've grown up without face-to-face communication.
Mm-hmm.
You have grown up without the ability to effectively communicate. You can't get laid. Jake knows all about that.
Cocaine and hookers, my friend.
That's how millennials are living. You can't get laid. You can't get a job. You can't communicate face-to-face. All you know is the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
All you know is Instagram. All you know is Facebook and Twitter.
TikTok.
TikTok, motherfucker. That's all you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no walking up to a hot chick. There's no walking up to Luka Doncic's mom in the produce section, right? And there's no, there's no doing that because you guys don't do that. And hey, man, if she wants help with her melons, I mean,
Excellent strategy, sir.
I'll stop. That was not funny. It was actually funny, really funny. I know funny, and that was funny. But my point is, millennials are unhealthy. And when you hear 44% of 30-plus millennials are dealing with major health issues, I'm not surprised by this at all, because I also know that a significant number of millennials say that they are unhappy. I know that a Forbes article that came out in 2017 said millennials link money with happiness. And you've lived through the two biggest financial crises. Millennials are unhappy. Unhappy people are unhealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
Millennials are unhealthy and unhappy people.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is because you're socially awkward. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I mean, I think that definitely plays a big role. There's no doubt. I mean, I think to get things done in this world, you have to be able to have conversations. I think that if we're being honest, I think that is like how any real productive business gets done, right? Like I think this is partially why crypto is such a big deal, because people don't have to talk to other people. It's just like, oh, let me throw a bunch of money at this, and Dogecoin is going to grow and grow and grow. And then when it collapses, everyone's going to be all pissed off.
Dogecoin!
Yeah, and so, I think that, but seriously, like, I think that like plays a role in
Trevor Lawrence took his entire signing bonus in Dogecoin. Good luck, forehead.
Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah, Tonto. By the way, Cornell University and the American Psychology Association partnered on the annual Stress in America survey and found that millennials continue to be the most stressed and anxious generation in American history.
Mm-hmm. And why do we think that is?
Most of their anxiety is triggered. Millennial anxiety is triggered by financial unhappiness and an overwhelming belief that millennials feel they are lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Go get laid. Like, please get out of the house. Like, go get some BG. Go get some,
And how exactly are we supposed to go about doing that right now?
Okay, well, you're vaccinated. Hey, idiots, get vaccinated. This is the other thing. And who listens to Joe Rogan more than any other generation?
Here we go.
I'm serious.
It's a great point. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Who listens to Pat McAfee and Joe Rogan?
Mm-hmm.
Millennial guys.
Yeah.
Right? And those guys, you look at Joe Rogan telling people, oh, don't get vaccinated. If you're healthy, go to the gym and work out. Go to Five Guys, eat French fries, and work out. You don't need vaccination.
Yeah.
And then what did he do a week later when people cracked down on him? Well, that's not really what I intended.
Hey, look here, man.
Guy, do you realize in this country that we have more issues for young people to deal with from whether it's money, how are you going to get educated? How are you going to get laid? How are you ever going to get married? How are you ever going to afford a house? How are you ever going to pay off your student loan debt? How are you ever going to afford groceries? Well, now you're 76 and you've been waiting to find the right one, and so you never had kids. So your generational line is dead. You're wasting your life trying to figure out how not to waste your life.
Yeah,
and I just say, go get vaccinated, head to the canteen, get drunk, and have regrettable sex. That's how you find love in this country. Well, it used to be. It's not anymore.
That's not how it works anymore.
It's Cinco. It's Cinco de Mayo. How many millennials are going to be out there biting down on limes, hoping to get laid?
Here's the problem. Okay, the world's not how it used to be. So when you were coming up, right? It used to be that you could go out and you could meet somebody, and that person would actually have like things going for them, right? Like they would actually have they'd have goals, aspirations, dreams, things that they were chasing, things that they wanted to do.
When I was growing up, nobody knew what the fuck they
My wife is losing her mind in the background.
Okay.
Okay, now, having said that, the child of the 80s was the most disenfranchised child. When you look at what do kids in my generation deal with? You deal with really hardcore religion. You deal with sex abuse as a child. There was an epidemic of sex abuse as a child. You were latchkey kids who all you did is play Nintendo and watch fucking cartoons. Like that's what the 70s and 80s kid was about, right? And you ate potato chips. You played Nintendo. You might go outside. You lit stuff on fire with M80s, right?
You see, I'm a guy of simple
we did that
taste.
stuff. We actually, get crazy. We actually went out and walked places. I used to ride my bike to school when my mom wasn't an oppressive barbarian. Like I could actually ride my bike to school, right? Like my biggest concern was whether or not I was going to wear my brother's clothes and he was going to try to kick my ass for it, right? Like that was my biggest concern. Now, you guys are so worried about, hey, well, what do I look like on TikTok? Hey, how am I going to flip this bottle to land on its lid and I'm just going to get lit and cray-cray, baby? Like, that's what your generation is about. And at some point, you got to be about making that bread. And if you would realize that, hey, how am I, all I want to do is make millions of dollars being a social media influencer, you douche. Like, if you would realize that you should be living your life, have a childhood, have an adolescence, have a high school life. Don't give a flying a baker's F about what the guy 3 lockers down in high school thinks about you.
I don't give a baker's fuck.
I wish more kids wouldn't, but the problem is you're so worried about what everybody else thinks and what you look like and, I'm fat on TikTok. Man, I better lose weight. Like, go live your life. And now, seriously, I just coached a girl yesterday at Yelp. And I said to her, well, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
People my age don't have a sense of purpose. They don't.
And you know what she said?
I don't know.
Paying my rent. Paying my rent. What am I doing at Yelp?
But what were you doing at her age, though?
Well, what I was doing at her age, I had my first radio job when like the day after I turned 16. I was really fortunate. I knew what I wanted to be.
But here's the thing.
I wanted to be a baseball player and a radio host. That's it.
But here's the thing. Like, when you knew that you wanted to do that stuff, rent wasn't $1,500 a month for a 1-bedroom.
Okay, but also, the salary, I made over $200,000 last year, just about $200,000 last year in one job.
And that's great.
I couldn't make that when I was 22.
Right. Nobody can. That's what I'm saying. We're agreeing. We're saying the same thing.
No,
here.
you're able to make that money. I think this is the biggest problem in this world right now, is that millennials don't believe it's an option. Millennials, I don't know how to say this to you, and you and I have had major fights over this. Nobody's against you. The world's not stacked against you. I don't care if the economy
Nobody's
crashed.
saying that, dude.
Oh, my God.
I'm not saying that. Nobody's saying that.
Oh, well, we got to deal with the pandemic and the economy, and I'm a
victim.
victim.
That's real, though, dude.
No. It's real in your head.
That's horseshit, dude.
It's not. Listen.
We disagree.
The pandemic, how much money has the pandemic cost you?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It has not.
Yes, it has.
You have not wanted for anything.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm trying to explain.
Dude.
You haven't wanted for anything.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, because I've been able to keep a job. But I'm very different than people my age. Like It just is true. I'm very different than people my age, dude.
The pandemic is an opportunity.
Wow.
The problem is the mindset isn't there. When you look at every time the economy crashes, somebody's making tons of money on it. And usually it's the person who doesn't shrink and doesn't hide in their apartment.
And how is it that millennials are set up to not shrink in those kind of moments?
Because it's a mindset thing.
And how are they supposed to have a mindset when they have not been, developed and raised to have that independent mindset? Millennials were not raised that way.
I'm telling you that at some point you have to stop with excuses and generational excuses. It's the easy button. And yes, I agree. Housing's expensive. Why don't I live in LA? If I could live anywhere, I'd probably live in Huntington Beach, but I can't afford it. So where do I live? I lived in Arizona, and then I chose to move back to Utah because I love it here, right? I made the life that I wanted.
But why did you get that opportunity?
Because I went and did it.
Right, because you were doing something you were passionate about. Not everybody is so fortunate to know what they wanted to do. Not everybody has passion about building.
But I'm not passionate, a life. Dude. I am not passionate about working at Yelp.
Right, you're missing a point here. You were passionate about doing radio. That's what made you take the leap. You knew what you wanted to do, so you were willing to eat the shit for 10 years or however long it was. And what I'm saying is that you don't have. And it's not a criticism, but you don't have the perspective of the 20-something who has no sales acumen working at a sales company. You don't like that. That's not a thing for you.
I guess we'll just agree to disagree. Your lack of sales acumen, not you personally, but millennial that has a lack of sales acumen doesn't want to learn sales.
Mm-hmm. And that's fair. That's a fair point.
When you are surrounded by some of the best sales talent in the world at Yelp. Yelp has some of the best sales talent. You won't take advice?
Do you think it's intimidating for someone to come up to you and talk to you about sales?
Yeah, I think it probably is.
So then I think your mentality here is to criticize them for the things they aren't doing, but I don't think that's wrong, but I think while we're criticizing, we need to have a conversation about, hey, well, why is it? What's the real reason why they are not able to
I have that
conversation
every single day.
Then how are you so cold to the idea that people are intimidated and don't have the life skills to go out and try to build themselves? They don't have the confidence, dude.
Bro, and I don't know, I've talked about this on the show, and I know I've said this 1,000 times. Man, I was homeless. I was alone. I was homeless. I lived in the parking lot at Condell Hospital for several nights.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I had nothing. And I had nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to, as you say, eat shit for several years.
I'm not saying you haven't been through it.
But God, that's not my point. Make a decision. Put your foot in the ground and go make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Go in a direction. Go do something to do something. There's so many people in this generation, and I am going to paint with a broad brush on millennials. There's so many people who think it's just so easy. I'm just going to open a TikTok account and I'm going to be famous. Well, it doesn't work that way because somebody's still got to do the work. And this thing where sales acumen at Yelp is the perfect example. I happen to be a top performer at Yelp. I do very well. I have people that come to me all the time and say, hey, what's the secret? Give me the secret. There's some magic fairy dust I pour out every day that makes me a top performer. There's no secret. Stop looking for shortcuts and start doing the work.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I also think that you don't talk about the fact enough that you have ability that other people don't have. You have a God-given ability to talk to people, to be confident on the phone, to do these things.
It's not God-given.
Okay.
It's not God-given. Do I have blessings in my life? Yes, I do. My ability to talk to people has been honed. I've worked hard. I've gone to seminars. God bless Cumulus Media for putting me through some of those most boring things I never wanted to be through that absolutely have changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. I agree. I have blessings. I've built what I have. I got very lucky. I have a very good life partner, and we have worked hard together. We're not people that stand still and make excuses about why something's failing.
I agree with that, with what you're saying.
But why can't millennials do that?
because they are not set up and have not been raised to have that mindset. They've been given everything.
I agree.
They didn't have to earn it. So it's a very steep and difficult learning curve to do anything. It's hard to. I guess the best way that I could say it, and I know I'll take a lot of criticism for it, and I get it, and I'm fine with it. But like the best way that I can say it is, it's impossible, or maybe not impossible, but really really difficult to learn how to deal with adversity and to learn how to mentally cope with adversity, whether it's money or relationships or whatever the case may be. It's difficult to cope with that stuff.
I get it.
When you've been given everything and you got all the blue ribbons your entire life growing up. That's what's hard. That's what I feel like is the core issue for millennials. You can apply it to like any like life situation, but at the end of the day in life, we're just facing adversity and we have to figure out how to problem solve. And that's what millennials don't have.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And a lot of people are saying that that parenting is a lost art. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, it is.
I think parents
are selfish.
Parents don't do enough to set their kids up, but I'm telling you, and this is where I want to leave this. If you're sitting here wondering why you're not doing something, stop wondering and start doing. Stop making excuses. Stop wondering what happened and start doing things that make things happen. Like I just can't. The former Ute, John Madsen, has a great podcast. If you don't follow him on Instagram, I think you're foolish. It resonates so much with me that John talks about getting into action. Tom Ferry, the real estate coach, talks about getting into action. We have to stop this negative narrative in our head. We're like, well, it's just generational. Oh, houses are too expensive. My wife said to me 1,000 times, we're never going to be able to buy a house in California.
Okay.
So what did? We left California. Mm-hmm. And we've owned multiple houses, and we've made hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point, buying and selling houses. You can know the situation, but don't complain about it unless you're willing to go and change it. And if you want to talk about like, hey, there's just so many challenges, overcome those challenges. You're not dead. Tomorrow is not promised. Do something today. I don't have 3 or 4 side hustles because I want to. I have 3 or 4 side hustles because I want to get out of my situation and build a better life. Millennials struggle because millennials are not willing to do the work, in my opinion, a lot of them, to get out of the struggle, to achieve, to change their mindset. I talk to millennials every day about this. If you're not, usually one of the first things I say to people who ask me how to sell at Yelp is, if you're not going to take my advice, let's just not talk. Let's just kind of, because I'm not here to give away free advice and waste my time. Mm-hmm. Like I just don't. There's so many people who are like, yeah, I don't think I can do what you do. Like, what's the shortcut? Mm-hmm. And it drives me crazy. All right, a couple of comments before we get out of here. Mighty Rhiannon says, millennials just need their parents to set up a parent-mentor meeting with Monty to help the millennials become good salespeople.
Hey.
$29.95.
Start another YouTube channel for life advice.
Ian says, as Monty Williams would say, everything you want is on the other side of hard. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Everything, the grass is not greener. You make the grass greener by fertilizing it with work and effort.
Yeah.
That's how it happens. Fat Jesus says you have to work to develop your talent, but you must still have the God-given talent to start. Otherwise, you are suggesting that anyone can make the NBA if they just try hard enough. Oh, I agree that you have to have a certain... Most success is mental, not physical.
Agreed.
Most successes want to, not can't do.
Mm-hmm.
That, in my mind, that's absolutely true. Brandon Whiteside says John Madsen is a millionaire. Yes, John Madsen has made himself a millionaire.
He built that.
How is John Madsen a millionaire? John Madsen's a millionaire because he built himself out of nothing. Mm-hmm. He built his body. He will tell you on a podcast I listened to the other day, he talked about how he got in with a fitness guru when he was 16 and it changed his life. And he went on to play at Utah. He went on to play for the Raiders, had a major injury, his career ended, and he didn't sit around and start counting money and spending it. Mm-hmm. He started working with football players and building their bodies, and now he's mentoring, and he's made his money. Brandon Whiteside says, so Jake moved to the Philippines. Houses are affordable there.
I mean, I've considered moving to New Zealand before. I've moved 8 times in my life. So
yeah, I'd move to New Zealand.
So I mean, and I can sell Yelp ads from the Philippines. So
yeah, why wouldn't you?
Just saying, I can do Amazon from the Philippines.
Get some beige in the Philippines. Is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That was a spirited conversation to end the show.
Yeah.
I guess we just agree to disagree then.
I mean, we don't disagree on 100% of it. I just think that it's easy for you to sit there and say that that millennials don't want to and that they don't try hard. And I think that, me knowing people and just the same way you talk to people, I talk to people, and I think that I just have more compassion for them. I think that they're not set up for success. I think that that the way they were brought up really kills their drive and kills their dreams. And I think that opening their bank account every day and seeing that they're, 50, 60, 70, $100,000 in college debt is soul crushing, legitimately. And I think that that's very defeating. And then I think they go to Yelp and they see people, kicking ass and they can't figure it out. And so it's just depressing. And that's why I think you see this snowball effect that happens. And that's why I say it's like we can sit here and be fired up about it, but the simple truth of it is that it all starts from the fact that millennials were given everything as kids. And while that is nice in concept, everybody knows that is that has hard-hitting side effects when you grow up. And that's what I think is ultimately the root issue. That said, I still agree with you that I think every person has the ability to say, okay, at some point I have to.
I can't keep doing this. Show me how.
Yeah, I can't keep doing the show me how, and I just have to. I'm going to lose. I think a lot of people have the mindset of, okay, well, if I do nothing, I'm going to lose, so I might as well do something. And if I still lose, it is what it is.
Yeah. Play the music, Jake.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you subscribe. If you're watching this video right now, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Then if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe because we're at 498 subscribers right now. We get to 500. Hopefully tomorrow morning we're going to give this bad boy away. If Jake's not dead from me kicking his ass after the fight we're about to have, I think. We won't have a fight. But subscribe. Take a picture that you're subscribed. Tweet it to us, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show, and at SLC Supercars. Until tomorrow, Jake. Say Daddy's the best.
Grow up, millennials.